This is Luna Eats an Oreo by Zio. The culinary confection of the black and white sat in front of Luna. It stared at her as she stared right back. Next to it sat a roll of parchment. Upon was written in her sister's neat horn writing. Dear sister, I had one of these brought to you upon my request. It is called an Oreo sandwich cookie. Please enjoy. Luna didn't know what an Oreo was, nor what a sandwich was, or even a cookie. All she knew was that this strange, monochronic thing that tried to intimidate her. She leaned in closer to it, never blinking, never averting her gaze. She would win this contest of will, even if it took her all eternity. Several hours had passed. Luna did not feel even the slightest urge to blink. She considered this new foe a worthy opponent, with a mind as steady as calm as her own. Suddenly, a soft pop shattered the calm and steady mind. She jumped abruptly, knocking the table and the Oreo flying. A scroll floated in front of her. She used her magical, mystical, mysterious alicorn powers to unroll it, revealing another note from Celestia. Sister, you're supposed to eat it. This changed everything. The strange object laying across the room was not a foe, but food. What joyous news. Luna searched the floor for the morsel. She now regretted her previous decision to have the floor redone in an overlapping circular black and white pattern. After having an hour of several failing attempts to consume the camouflaged snack, she finally accidentally skewed the cookie with a trip of her horn, and in a 1 in a million chance, left it intact. Using her magic, she levitated the bit of food off of her horn and gently, oh so gently, placed it in her mouth and began to chew. To this day, she did not completely recall what happened next. 1 minute, she was sitting there in her room, eyes wide as saucers as she experienced the first time sweet, creamy hint of chocolate deliciousness. That was an Oreo sandwich cookie. The next, she was in another world, a world where rivers of Oreo cream ran white against roughly textured black cookie landscape. The lakes were filled with milk, and the birds flying overhead were not birds at all, but large Oreos with wings. There was no sun nor moon. The sky was pure white. She had entered a deliciously monochromatic landscape, and she loved it. Suddenly, though, a voice from behind her caused her to turn around, only to find her sister standing there. So, Celestia said, smiling, you discovered the land of milk and cookies. A splendid place, is it not? Luna could not speak not at all, could not speak at all. She could muster was,
What? Where? Oh, no, 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 no.
She could no longer resist. She began to dig at the ground beneath her, devouring everything she uncovered. She eventually dug so deep the ground gave away beneath her, and she found herself falling into a seemingly endless abyss. Finally, she landed in what she'd originally assumed was milk, only to find after falling in that it was, in fact, more cream. This time, it was warm, almost hot. She began inhaling the stuff, letting the cream flow down her esophagus, relishing even the sweet taste and creamy texture. She dove under, further, but something was wrong. Her lungs were burning. She needed air. Luna could no longer tell which way was up. The whiteness turned to blackness, and she knew no more. Beep, 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 and darkness. Beep, 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 beep.
Her heart rate is escalating. She's coming out of the sugar coma.
She opened her eyes and surveyed the room around her. It was her room, turned into a makeshift hospital room. An IV even, was hooked up in front of her foreleg, whilst a heartbeat monitor showed her heart rate. 2 ponies, a male and a female, dressed in identical white doctor's clothing and masks, stood to either side of her.
We found you in this state on the floor, twitching.
The doctor said,
We knew the symptoms immediately. First time eating an Oreo syndrome. Your eyes were glazed and your pupils were dilated to almost an impossible size. You were making motions with your legs, like that of a swimmer. Thus,
she realized she had also had a tube down her throat. After the uncomfortable sensation of the tube being removed by the doctors, she asked,
Does my sister know?
Yes, the female nurse said, but no one else does. We managed to keep it a secret. We wanted to keep this quiet as possible. When the moon didn't rise on time, the princess knew something was wrong. She went to investigate and found you like this, and summoned us. She assumes you choked. Even in her infinite wisdom, Princess Celestia's knowledge of the medical field is somewhat limited. She glanced nervously at the door, as if worried that Celestia had heard. We still haven't told her what the real problem was.
Don't!
Luna said.
She doesn't like to find out when she is wrong about anything.
She remembered the horrible experience of Luna telling Celestia that not every game console was called a Nintendo. Every piece of gaming technology in the vicinity had been immediately disintegrated. Celestia had smiled and said, Thank you for informing me of this, and then walked away. Several weeks had passed without incident. Luna stayed away from Oreos as much as she could, pitching a few that Celestia occasionally sent her into the garbage. Finally, one day, while drinking her daily tea, she heard a soft pop behind her. A scroll had appeared, along with a small platter of Oreos, abnormally thick Oreos, she noted. Unrolling the scroll, she read, Sister, I've made a remarkable new discovery. These are called double stuff Oreos. Please enjoy.
Double stuff?
She thought for a moment.
The cream has been doubled!
Luna couldn't resist. Grabbing one of the cookies with her magic, she slowly floated it towards her, placing it in her mouth, and began to chew. Now on for the epilogue. Epilogue? Discord. Being trapped in the stone prison could be so boring. Sure, there were the obvious benefits of having ponies come by and stare at you and try to climb on you, and the pigeons who thought it was their moral duty to drop every bit of dung they thought they could on your head, but other than that, it wasn't very fun. Discord stood still as a statue, which was easy since he was one, counting even the leaves on the trees, watching them rustle in the wind, thinking of how much entertainment it would be if they were the rest of Equestria were on fire. The worst part of being stoned all the time was the tiny rays of hope that would occasionally break through the darkness of his prison. Hope that came in the form of tiny singles consisting of pure chaos. Signals that came from fights, or small angry mobs, or cow stampedes, or Twilight Sparkle losing one of her books. He was experiencing one of these now, actually. He strained his ears, or as he liked to call them, his chaos receptors, to try and pinpoint the source of the ripple in the chaos harmony balance. It seemed to be coming from... No, it couldn't be. Princess Luna. Suddenly a surge of raw chaos surged through to him and his stone entrapment. A surge so powerful that the rocks cracked. A small fissure appeared along the top of his snout. It spread quickly, covering the immobile body, Finally, with a great booming noise and laugh so evil that Celestia herself got shivers down her spine miles and miles away, Discord emerged, breathing in the fresh air. He felt more alive than he'd ever been in years. Not wanting to waste any time, he vanished with a small pop, appearing moments later outside the royal palace of Canterlot. In the time between his appearance and reappearance, he had some time to ponder over what the hey Luna possibly could have done that created a chaotic ripple strong enough to shatter his very prison. But despite his vast knowledge of all things good and chaotic, he was truly stumped. His answer came moments later in the form of small, black, and white cookie. The end.